So, just before this video begins, I am thrilled to announce that this episode is sponsored by Stereo. Now, this is an awesome app that I've been using to share some brilliant chats with some great people. As an example, here's a quick excerpt of the chat that I had with Carl Hartley just a couple of nights ago. I'm really looking forward to him getting back on the channel, but this just gives you a quick flavor of what the app's all about.
Today, what have I been doing? Oh God, I bought a Ford GT, a new one.
As
model.
you do.
I then sold it.
What, the same day you bought it?
Yeah. Yesterday, I sold a RSQ8.
Okay.
And today I needed to find it because I didn't have one to sell. So I bought a Urus today.
Okay.
What else to buy today? I bought an Aventador SV Roadster.
Today. This has all happened today. Right?
This all happened today.
Now, I've been having a few of these chats with the likes of Yanni from Yanimize, Carl Hartley, prolific supercar dealer. The chats have been fantastic, but what's really cool is that people can actually call in live during the show and ask questions directly to us, and that just sort of self-perpetuates the conversation, and some great and funny topics come up all the time. So there we have it. Be sure to use the link below, download Stereo, follow me on the app, and get involved in the conversation. I look forward to hearing your questions. As always, thanks for watching. Enjoy the video.
I'm just having a moment here, right? So let me just set a spot of context for you.
Yep.
When I started doing this, I was filming on an iPhone 6 at the weekend when I had some spare time, and I could get my hands on someone crazy enough to lend me a car to do a film. Never in a million years did I think that would translate to me having my own paint on an Aston Martin.
Yep.
Yeah, that is ridiculous. So hello, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to a significant installation in the DBX series. So just as a quick overview, I've been honored to be involved in an amazing project teaming up with Q Division and Aston Martin to have my input into designing a Aston Martin DBX. We have partnered with a remarkable Aston Martin dealership called HWM, where you can order this car from. They just so happen to be the oldest Aston Martin dealership in the world. We have created our own paint based on the technology that was developed for the Valkyrie hypercar. It's only available on our DBX as of yet, and today, hence why I'm dressed like a really trendy baker, we are going to apply this paint that we've been creating for about 12 months now. We're going to be jumping between paint mix, sort of where we created the paint and the actual science behind that, and then during that we'll also jump between the paint stages. Today is paint day. This has been 12 months in the making, or should I say in the formulation, and we're going to be taking you for, I think it's an unprecedented look actually, into the process of creating the paint and then applying it to these wonderful cars.
Sure. So, as I said earlier, this is probably the newest paint shop, definitely in Europe, I'd say, if not the world.
Wow.
We only started painting real live cars in the middle of last year.
Okay.
So it's you know, it's 6 or 7 months old in real spraying terms. We did some pre-commissioning before that.
Right.
But this is job one, was the early part of last year. And so this is a cleaning line.
Okay.
You'll find in some car plants they have a dip process for cleaning cars. We don't have that here because of the number of composites on the car and the amount of hang-on parts we put on there.
Right.
Traditional car companies don't paint the bumpers and all the other hang-on parts with the car. They'll bring them in separately. But we spray it all in once to get continuity of colour.
Nice. And
colour harmony across the car. And also it saves us having to sequence them in later on.
this is like the ultimate Matchbox storage system here.
Yeah,
this is incredible.
So this is what we call the ASRS. It stores all of our cars, so we'll get a car in from Body in White. So that'll come through the wall downstairs. We can have a look later. That gets stored in there in sequence, ready for when we want to put it down the cleaning line. And then there are other cars on this line which are actually primed cars.
Right.
So this line cleans fresh cars from Body in White and cars we've previously primed and prepped for paint. And then after that line, it splits off to go down the colour line or primer line, depending what it is. So every car is sequenced in, and we have a FIFO system. So first car in is first car out.
When you're queuing up cars, as it were, do you try and do them in batches? If you're doing, I would say you're probably doing more black cars, for example, than bright
we absolutely
blue
do.
ones. Yeah.
We do it to reduce the number of cleaning cycles between cars.
Right.
We do it to reduce the waste of paint between cars, and it just makes it more efficient for our process, so that the internal sprayers get the same colour over and over. So
Right.
yes, we do try and batch colours,
Okay.
but because of the customer requirement date,
Yeah.
you know, we'd spray all of our silver cars in a week.
Sure.
But the problem is customer requirements will
Yes.
be throughout the year. So
Yeah, yeah.
we batch it as far as we can, and we have a guy who manages that for us.
Right.
And then we'll sequence them in as such.
Looking at that rack, it's very sort of grey, black, and you got this one blue car here. Right.
Yeah. So, and that also is a problem. Not a problem, but something we have to manage. The amount of colours we do here.
Yeah.
I forget the number of colours. So over 250 colours on the palette.
Okay.
So
Wow.
we do have to mix and match.
Yes.
So we'll try and batch as far as we can with the more standard colours, if you like.
Sure.
We'll try and batch those in, and then every time we'll drop potentially a solid colour in to mix between magnetics,
Right.
or we'll drop a different colour blue in there.
All right, so here we are inside the mystical paint booth that is in the depths and the heart of Aston Martin. We're here with Rich and Kev. Now, I want to set a spot of context here, because I certainly haven't had the full appreciation for what goes in to making these special paints. Let's start with how long you guys have been in the game.
Well, Jay, I've been in the industry for over 30 years.
Okay.
And Kev, 40 years.
Crikey.
So it's 70 years of combined skill,
Experience.
which we're going to hopefully deliver to you today.
We are creating our DBX paint. What's exciting about it is a Valkyrie-based paint. What does that mean in terms of paint tech?
Right, so what we're going to work with today, we're going to be using solid pigments, Zeralic pigments, pearl pigments, and metallics. And we hope we've reached a colour target for you
Fantastic.
that you're going to be happy with, and we will be mixing that in front of you today. Contrary to popular belief, paint is not just opening the tin and you have paint. There is a certain amount of alchemy involved. There's a certain amount of organic history, and some of these come from the beginning of time.
Right.
They're earth products. Some are organically, synthetically made in laboratories, and some of them are aluminium oxides.
So not everything you add in there is just for colour. It's got other purposes for application as well.
Certainly. For application, for flow, for adhesion.
Okay.
And it's a very precise science, isn't it?
Okay.
0.67%, just to throw it out there, is a balance that is a requirement. You can't go more, you can't go less, else it doesn't work.
Really? Is that fine?
Absolutely.
So in order to create the exact shade and sort of texture for application, you're working to point decimal places.
Absolutely. Kevin produces these colours. He works to 2 decimal points.
Really?
We
Wow.
adapt that for greater value to a single decimal point. But during the base formulations, it's a very, very fine science. And this is the alchemy that we were going to talk through to you.
Okay.
That's a rework and inspection area.
Okay.
So you can see we inspect under different lighting.
Oh, yeah.
And different lighting will give you and show up different qualities in the paint.
Okay.
So you can just see how that colour's flipping now on that paint down there.
Yes.
But if you looked in this light, you
look
wouldn't
totally
see that
different.
effect.
No. Wow.
And also, if certain defects can be seen better in certain light.
Sure. Wow.
So some defects are almost undetectable to naked eye until you turn the lights differently.
And is that to sort of help replicate it if it was in a different part of the world?
Potentially,
you would get
yeah.
a different type.
Yeah, so if you had your car out in bright sunlight,
Yeah.
or if you're in a car park and the lighting is very low, things like that can show up in different. You
the
might not
variables
notice it.
you guys have to deal with is endless,
It's
isn't
good
it?
fun.
So it starts to get a little bit more exciting now. We're entering into the realms of Zeralic pigments. Up to 2011, the Zeralic pigment was produced in Japan in a single factory. And as the tsunami wiped out Fukushima, it wiped out that facility.
Serious?
Yes.
Really?
So overnight in 2011, the big boys in the automotive industry, they stopped overnight using Zeralic pigment because on the world market it wasn't available.
It's gone.
Today in 2020, of course, it's been fabricated, but at the time there was a worldwide stop. There was a transition period from pearl and mica, which is a natural byproduct, metamorphosis and sedimentary rocks, to Zeralic, which gave a more concentrated sparkle. And as I said, overnight, with Fukushima, that went out of service, and only they were offering reds and blacks, I believe, and that was all they could get their hands on. So it was catastrophic for the automotive industry, but Zeralic moved on. This is a pearl pigment, as what we just talked about. These pearls are a natural byproduct of the planet. So 1,000 years ago, people were rubbing. That is what this is. And you find it in sedimentary rocks. It's all about the cooling of the lava and the magma, and it's a muscovite. And that was the first generation. Zeralic was the second generation. And during the Fukushima, they reverted back to pearls. But the industry likes Zeralic because you can get a more of a controlled sparkle. And it's just more, it's easier to control.
The amount of stages, I mean, we're not even getting through it yet. The amount of stages you've got is
So the most
unreal.
important factor in a paint shop is cleanliness. That's why we wear hats, overalls, boots. If we touch a car, we have to wear gloves, because if you leave fingerprints on there, you'll see it in the paint later on. We have processes designed to remove finger marks as well. So you'll notice everywhere's really clean. Inside the booths are clean regularly. Filtered air.
Is it?
And we have downdraft measured so that we make sure we pull air away from the car.
Wow. It's bonkers, the amount of effort in it. It's quite incredible.
You don't imagine that when you look at a car. You want to see your painted surface.
Yes.
If it looks okay, great. But the effort that goes into that is quite astonishing.
Work, isn't it?
You'll notice as well, the floor looks dirty here.
Yes.
But that's a sticky designed to take dust off your shoes before you enter an area.
That's
so we have these in all areas.
I could do with one of these in my front door.
You'll be forever changing it, because look at it now. It's only been down a day.
So literally everyone walks on this and it just
so
takes
when
all the
I
dirt
walk
off
in
your
there,
shoe.
it'll take all the
dirt off your shoes.
Yeah. We have 2 cleaning robots that brush the exterior of the car.
Really?
Yeah, they're designed to, so legendary in industry is the ostrich feather.
Yes.
Designed for removing dust off cars. These are a synthetic replica of that.
So even though it's just been through all these guys cleaning, you then go and clean it further more.
Yeah. And then what we also do is we do dust counting in all the areas. So we measure the particles in the air.
You joking?
Down to 10 microns, and 5 microns.
Dust counting?
Yeah, so we have what we call it a boulder counter.
Right.
But you'll never see any of these boulders, they're that small. But we count how many of those are in a sample size of air.
Wow.
And we'll do that a number of times a day just to make sure we've got effective air in all the zones. And we haven't got any particles in the air ready to land on a car.
That one, that car's off to Hong Kong. Very cool. So this, everywhere you look is like something from a film in here. It's so, look at it in there. It's gorgeous. Wow. It's a beautiful place, isn't it?
It's based on the densities, isn't it, Kev? If you can picture a dragonfly, and as you see the wings, the colours in the wings are only occurring through light refraction because of the density of the wings. So the tip of the wing will be blue, the bottom of the wing will be yellow, and this is what this does. So
I've got to be honest, when I walked in this room to talk about paint, I never thought it was going to get so fascinating so quickly.
Yeah, there's a certain alchemy.
It's amazing.
Science to it.
Yeah,
a certain
fantastic.
Science, and it's a fine science. When you think about some of the, we all understand H2O as a formulation. When you start talking about NgAlNO2 010, you start to realise that you're entering into a world of something that's that's quite mystical. So we're going to drop away from the Zeralics and the pearls as we've talked about. We've got a clear binder to carry it, and we've got your base green and a white. We're now going to add a mixing black. Contrary to popular belief, black is not black.
That's right. That's a yellow black.
This is a yellow black, which you will see. You can see the yellow tone, hopefully.
Yep.
So you'll have a yellow black, there's a blue black. Black black, red black. There's all sorts of challenges. And here we have an aluminium.
Yeah, a very coarse cornflake.
Very coarse cornflake aluminium. So that's going to give you a sparkle.
Look at that.
So the sparkle in your colour, you can see where that's going.
Okay.
And as this is added, following the recipe, to a very fine, precise mix, that'll all go together, and that'll give you, hopefully, the colour that you're looking for.
So we've got this area here. It's a blower, so you have to stand in there, the air will blow down. You'll see we've put tacky strip on the walls, we've got filters at the bottom, and that's just to take anything off us, because this is now what I call the cleaner zone. Right. This is the zone where we spray cars now, so anything in there is committed to paint.
I see.
We're going to put, this is the base coat area, manual base coat, and it will go in the loop to clear coat and come out here, ready to go to the oven. But we can have a little walk around there, we might see some.
Sounds good.
Yep. So if you go in, just wait for the blower to finish, the green light will come on to let you through.
All right. one of the ideas of this series is that the next time you look at paint again, you never look at it in the same way.
Yeah.
What stage are we right now through this process?
So this is stage 1 of colour application.
This is stage 1.
Stage 1 of colour application.
Right. So already I'm looking at paint differently. I can't believe how much stages and processes there are to get to this stage.
So for me, I said to you earlier, I think that the most important stage is cleaning.
Yes.
So that's stage 1 of committing to this zone.
Right.
So those guys cleaning the car, they follow standardised work routines to
Yes.
make sure they reach all the areas we need them to. But this is the first time we put the colour on the car. So this is when it will turn from a primed car into whatever colour the customer's selected.
How do you decide which cars are being manually sprayed versus more automated?
Initially at design stage.
Okay.
So design might come up with a new colour for a limited edition to promote a new model. So they might say, we're going to do a limited number of these cars, so we won't automate them through the booths and we'll just do them in hand spray. Some colours previously have been a tri-coat technology. So instead of just base coat and then clear coat, we have an intermediate effect coat.
Right.
So we've done them traditionally hand spray in booths. So it depends on the technology of the paint, the number of cars, and the potential take rate thereon.
Do you get some sort of alert or anything if the humidity changes or
Humidity,
the temperature changes?
downdrafts.
Yeah.
So we measure all of that. We have constant monitoring on fan speeds, etc.
So the rate of downdraft as well?
Yeah. That's absolutely critical for making sure the paint lays down correctly.
Crikey. So literally the speed of the flow of the air
So
through
the
the
speed
booth.
of the air coming in there and leaving through there,
You need to get that bang on.
within a range.
It's just mental, man. It is. Wow, very cool.
At this stage of the day, after the conception of your colour, and Kevin produced a specimen that you were happy with, what we did at AXO, we take that away and we put it through some rigorous conformity testing, through humidities, through adhesions, to make sure that it is stable. In any recipe, certain things don't really want to mix together, so we've got to make sure that what we put together actually works. So that's all behind us. That's what we've done. So we're coming through now to a final stage where we've added the colour to our electronic systems. This will calculate an absolute weight for us to give us the precise mix. As you can see, some of them are 0.1, 0.2, 0.7 of a gram. You'll see as I mix it. And
to get the right shade is weight.
Absolutely.
Based on weight.
Yes, it's all weight. So as a rule of thumb, a bit of science for you, and correct me if I'm wrong, rule of thumb, we talk about a litre of water weighs roughly a kilogram, which is roughly 1,000 grams. This particular paint is 1,000 grams, but it actually weighs 1,500 grams because of the density.
Just to make life easier.
So you can understand then there's a certain amount of science involved. So the rule of thumb falls away with paint because it's all about the weight of the pigment. So I'm going to start adding this into the pot. As you can see, we've got an empty pot, and I'm going to try and hit this colour target for you on the dot.
So at this point, if you go a little bit over, do you then compensate down the line with these to just make more of it?
The system will recalculate for you, but you've got to be extremely careful because some of the pigment strengths are very, very different to others, and the compensation could be put an extra 5 litres of colour in. So sometimes you'll end up throwing it away.
Really?
If you mess up on a white base colour and you just put a 0.1 gram of a blue in, you can throw that away because you'd be into probably 5 or 6 litres of paint to recalculate.
I can imagine some of these pigments aren't too cheap either.
No, they're not cheap, of course not. You start entering into the realms of the Zeralic toners, the Spectra, Chroma flares. You could be paying £600 and £700 a litre.
Really?
So it's quite expensive, certainly. £340 for half a litre. I've seen a tin on eBay the other day, but hey ho. So it's 53. So I'm going to try and hit this on the spot if I can.
So to get a car one colour,
Yes.
takes into account at least, I think, 30 different metrics on a statistical process control. So effectively, this is a control cabinet for all of the motors in that robot arm. So we've got 7 motors in there, all individually controlled for power and position and speed control. So we have a feedback loop at all times, and the objective is to make sure the bell, the spinning bell on the end of the robot arm, is a consistent distance to target around the entirety of the car. So where we try and follow a curve, we'll keep that distance to target all the way around.
So at some stage in CAD or somehow, you effectively 3D map the car,
Yep.
inputted it into this system, and it always knows where the car is to maintain the same.
We'll model
same
off
distance.
CAD,
Right.
and then we'll model it in the robot program. Then we'll ghost the program, so there'll be no car in there, and we'll run it.
Yeah.
And then we'll commit an engineering car to it, a scrap car, just in case. And then we'll measure that consistency around the car. And we will then foil build the car, foil cover the car, so we can lay paint down, and then we'll measure the depth of paint across the car, the thickness. We'll measure it for drying as it comes out.
And so the panels are statically charged.
Yeah, so it's electrostatic bell painting. So we've got a spinning bell on the end of the robot end effector, and the car is basically earthed, and we are pulling paint onto the car. Every single one of those panels at design stage or first model introduction, we will check conductivity across the panel and then through the panel for its route to earth to make sure we can consistently attract paint there. Because if we lose conductivity on any panel, it's going to go somewhere else.
I know ultimately these things are quite expensive, but you're starting to make it sound good value. The amount of work involved is bonkers.
Absolutely.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah. And I think when you see a painted surface, you don't realise like the value chain behind it.
Sure, yeah.
From the very first person that touches the car to clean it, to make sure it comes out with the effect and the condition the customer expects.
I'll never think again about getting paint protection film on my car.
No. Yeah.
Wow.
All of the components are in. I'm going to give it a gentle stir, and then I will be giving it a shake, and you will see that these pigments all of a sudden start to bond together, and we will very slowly be reaching the colour, Jay's colour, that he's got in his mind.
I can really see it. Look at the shimmer on that.
So, I don't want to give it too much, so I don't want to splash it on your camera. But look, you can see now your colour.
Look at the
you can see it, absolutely.
Outstanding. Look at that. I don't know the last time I saw something so satisfying as that. It's unbelievable.
So after all the hard work and toil, from your dream, through the concept, through what Kev's done, through the conformity testing, we're at the end of the day. This is the colour that you dreamt of, and that's the colour that we've made you, and that's the colour that we're going to deliver to you, and that's the colour that you're going to get on your car.
It's absolutely stunning.
The question is, do you like it, Jay?
Yes.
Well,
it's amazing.
I'm really pleased you do, because here's one I prepared earlier for you.
Oh, wow. On a shape, on a car.
There you go. That's your colour.
Oh, mate, thanks so much for that. I wasn't expecting that.
You're more than welcome.
That is outstanding.
So that's what we do, as and when. That paint will be sprayed, and that's what that'll deliver you.
It
I hope that's the colour of your dream.
The same.
Pretty much.
It dries the same.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Pretty much.
I'm actually a bit emotional about that. That is absolutely outstanding. Thank you so much.
You're more than welcome.
Really, guys, honestly,
you're more than welcome.
Just amazing.
So this is really
Extensive.
the beating heart of the facility.
Right.
So all of our air comes in here, is treated in terms of humidity, temperature and velocity into the booths downstairs. So where the guys are spraying, up here, make sure they've got the right area to spray.
So this whole floor is air?
Basically air handling units and exhausts.
You've got a floor dedicated to air?
Yeah, and the treatment of it.
Yeah.
So obviously we have a different environment outside depending winter, summer. So the temperature of air coming in is different. It could be a rainy day, it could be the height of summer. We're quite near the coast, so we make sure that we've got relevant treatment in place for all of that. But there are burners here, dehumidifiers, humidifiers, dryers. It's all here.
So you can extract or inject humidity where you need it?
Yeah.
I bet you run a great greenhouse, don't you? That is absolutely ridiculous. It kind of makes you think how they ever sprayed a car back in the day. Do you know what I mean? Like, when you see this and then you look back on old cars.
Well, this is what it takes to come from a manual spray booth,
Yes.
where you sort of look after the atmosphere, to where you go to automatic spraying, and you absolutely nail and control your atmosphere. And that's probably the little bit of difference, but large pieces of equipment to do it. Right. So then, that was the air coming in upstairs,
Okay.
and this is where dirty air leaves us. So it comes out under the booths through big filters. So we have to filter the outgoing air to make sure we don't harm the environment.
Sure.
So that's why we have all these.
So these are filters.
They're basically a cardboard box with filter media through it. And this is quite new technology, really.
Yeah,
Newish.
yeah.
We used to have wet filter systems,
Okay.
where your paint would float on water and it would go out and then be scraped off.
Right. Okay.
We've gone to dry filtration here. So this is where, after being primed, the car comes downstairs to here, and you can see the surface is quite glossy after priming.
Yes.
And these guys go through a denib, so they'll take any little imperfections or raised elements out of the primer, and then they'll scuff the paint to promote adhesion further down when we put the base coat on upstairs.
Right. Do you know how many total processes there are just in paint?
In terms of one process, so you've got cleaning, priming, base coat, clear coat, flatten, prep, and polish. So there's 7 major steps.
Okay.
And then every single one of them, there's 6 stations on this line.
Okay.
There are 6 stations on flatting line, 3 stations on the cleaning line.
So sub steps is
Sub-steps of steps, yeah.
Yeah.
And every single one
Wow.
of them is controlled by the process we saw earlier on screen.
Yes.
So the guys log in their car and it tells them what process and what steps to follow on that vehicle. For instance, if a satin car came down here, we don't want them to polish it,
No.
so it will tell them not to. But we send satins through so we get a proper inspection at the end of the process.
Right, okay.
Yeah, so what we've got here is the very end of the application process. So where we looked at the car earlier, where it went in step 1 with manual base coat application, this is after all of those processes, and the car has been through a 3-stage oven and is now cured and acceptable to go forward. So this car will come out of the oven and it will come into this bay, we can have a look around it.
Yeah.
So you've almost got the very start and the very end of the process right next to each other.
Right.
It just goes in a big loop round and comes out here.
Yeah, it's very professional. Okie dokie.
Want to fill your paint rack in?
Yep. With my handwriting, it might come out blue, but let's have a go.
Yep.
Okay, so just here.
Operator name.
Tell you what, let's put in. Might as well be official. Let me do the JWW thing for a bit of fun. So it
There
takes.
we go.
How many litres to paint a
To
car?
hand paint the car.
Yeah.
For a DBX, you're probably talking 10 to 12 litres.
10 to 12 litres.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, for just on the unlikely event you get a rework, we make slightly over that,
Okay.
rather than make another mix.
Sure.
So you can always come back to it.
Okay.
But there's a paint you've just filled your paint rack in for, with your name and your label on that.
Literally have my name here on some Aston paint. That is
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Grab
Yeah.
probably under there and just lift out,
Oh, that's crazy.
and then
Look
place
at that. The shimmer on that is unbelievable. It's really good seeing it in such a large volume.
Yeah.
Up until this point, we've seen it in this sort of size
Oh yeah.
as a sample. But when you see and when you can move it, it comes alive, you know?
Yeah.
Ready? The shimmer on that. That's fantastic. Wow.
That's what we'll do then. Right, we will set up 1 cent PPS. Now bear in mind you've already filtered this.
Yes.
1 Colad cup.
Okay.
It is as easy as it looks into the paint.
Just dip this in and
Scoop
pour it in
in.
there. Really? Okay.
Hold that up there, pour in.
It's so funny. We've just walked around the most scientific thing I've seen
Yeah.
in a long time.
Yeah.
And now we're going to just dunk this in and pour it.
This is like the magic at the shows that you don't see.
Okay.
So it's already pre-lined.
Right.
So hold that up, pour into there. Back to there. Put that down, we'll put the lid.
This. I feel like this is about to go everywhere. Right then. Okay, totally. Yeah, here we go. Oh, look at that.
Like the
From
side.
here.
That's great, that'll do.
Yeah? Does that mean I've got the job, yeah? That,
Well,
means,
yeah.
that means I'm good. This stuff looks amazing. Look at it. Under the light, it's so good. Look at that. This has got to be one of the most satisfying things I've done in quite some time.
So twizzle it,
Yeah.
so it's not, the outer ring's not catching the threads.
Okay.
It's evenly sitting, just give it a sharp snap, you'll hear it snap. That's it. Then
Even that feels good.
twist, hold and twist that, and that will lock that
There you go.
all that three components together. Done.
So these will ultimately end up underneath the spray gun.
That will go on the spray gun.
Okay.
One last thing, so we know it's your paint. You write on the lid.
There you go.
There you go.
There you go.
Now that is your paint, ready to paint.
I'm just having a moment here, right? So let me just set a spot of context for you.
Yeah.
When I started doing this, I was filming on an iPhone 6, right?
Yeah.
At the weekend when I had some spare time and I could get my hands on someone crazy enough to lend me a car to go and film. Never in a million years do I think that would translate to me having my own paint on an Aston Martin.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is ridiculous. So as I said at the beginning, this stage has been 12 months in the making. There's one thing seeing on CGIs, renders, and samples, but when you're stood in front of it on a car, on an actual body, and you can move around it under these lights, the whole thing just comes alive. This isn't fully finished yet. The next time you see it on the next installation of this series, the car will be at a various stage on the production line, and we'll watch it roll off as a completed car. But for now, this is such a massive, it's the first stage really to see the car basically becoming a tangible vehicle. It's been up here for so long. Now it's here, and yeah, fantastic. I want to say a massive thank you to everyone involved in that. The skill level here as well is outstanding. I will never look at paint the same way again. It's been amazing. So please leave your questions and comments below. Anything I can answer, I'll try. Anything that I don't know, I'll speak with the guys at Aston and let you know. As always, thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you next time. Ciao.